This review is made possible by the Restored Rusty Relics Car Club of North New Jersey. If you're in the New Jersey or New York area, please check them out and consider joining the club. They do monthly events, meetings, and have formed a community around these awesome vintage cars. Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach, and today I am driving a 1968 Ford Mustang. Up front is a 4.9 liter V8, and down below is a 4-speed automatic transmission. Now I am super excited to be driving this 1968 Ford Mustang because I've driven the early ones, and actually, to pull back the curtain a little bit, I drove a 1965 convertible just before this car, and that was the start of the Mustang. The Mustang came around in 1964 and a half, and Ford predicted that it would sell about 100,000 units in the first year. Well, they ended up selling 400,000 units. America loved the Mustang from launch, and so the 1965 and 1966 that I've driven, they didn't really know what was on their hands yet. They were just experiencing the success, and they didn't have enough time to turn that success into more and different features for the Mustang. Well, now the 1968, the car had been around for 3 or 4 years at this point. They had a little bit of cash in their pocket from the initial sales, and so they created a vehicle like this, and I'm very excited to share it with you today. But if you would like to submit your own vehicle, you can head on over to my website, zachpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. But let's get back to that V8 under the hood, known as the 302. I always say liters of displacement in my videos just to keep it standardized across all makes and models. But this is the 302. We're not going to be using liters anymore the rest of the video. And this was the engine that you wanted. Now, you still could find this in an inline 6, but the Mustang was really meant to have the V8. The inline 6 is fine, but the V8 is what you want. Now, this car has what's called Sprint Package B. Now, there's a Sprint Package A and Sprint Package B, of course. Sprint Package A gave you like a chrome air filter and some added bits, but it was still an inline 6 car. Sprint Package B actually incorporated the V8 into it, as well as you got some nice dress-up parts. Now, this being the 302, they used this engine in one form or another for quite a few years. It's probably one of the most famous Ford engines known to man, which is really fun to see and drive. Like I said, paired to it is a 4-speed automatic. Now, that might have raised some eyebrows when I said that, and it should. This car originally came with a 3-speed, but it had a Fox body 4-speed auto swapped into it at some point along the way. And so it's driving fine, it's shifting normally, but I can't really comment on it too much because it's not the original transmission. Last but not least, of course, the 68 Mustang is rear-wheel drive. So how does it feel to drive a 1968 Ford Mustang? Well, it's a little bit more grown up. It's a little bit more poignant than the earlier first gens, like the 65 and 66. The V8 definitely adds a lot of grunt and grumble to it. Where the inline 6 is perfect for around town, this is better for, let's just say, more. If you want to pull off from a stoplight in any type of fashion in a Ford Mustang, this was the engine to have, and I love that. Visibility is great, steering wonderful, and overall I'm very, very comfortable driving this around northern New Jersey today. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me I have 4 gauges. Off to the left is my oil pressure, then I have my speedometer, fuel, an alternator, and then off to the right I have my coolant temperature. So kind of spaced out gauges, but definitely very cool to see. The steering wheel doesn't have anything on it, just the Ford Mustang badge, and I love the drilled look and the wood look as well. To the left of me, I do have my heating and cooling options. This did come with factory air conditioning back in 1968, which is quite lovely. Moving on to the door, we have our manual mirrors and manual windows, but then we have the door handle, and the door handle actually folds up in order for you to pull it up. Now, the owner and I couldn't really figure out 100% why they did this. My guess is for extra leg room, but I mean, how much leg room are you really saving by having a flip handle? But nevertheless, very cool to see. Moving into the center, we get 2 climate control vents and a Mustang radio. This is an aftermarket radio, meant to look and feel like the original radio, but not quite. Then moving down to the center, we have the shifter. Like I said, it's not paired to an original transmission, but this is the original shifter, works well, functions, and I can't blame it too much. However, throughout the entire ivory interior of this 1968 Ford Mustang, there are no cup holders, and so, at the end of the day, it too fails the big friggin' bottle test. Now we gotta talk about the seats. The seats are lovely, they are very comfortable. They're not very sporty and don't really hold you in well, but that's very characteristic of this era of cars and what I've come to know and love from the first gen Mustang. However, I will say they're finished in this wonderful light green color. We'll talk about the exterior color in a second, but this interior is just amazing. Take a look at the overall interior. What a beautiful color palette in here, and just something you don't see anymore. When was the last time you drove a car with a green interior, let alone a nice green one like this, not the terrible tacky aqua greens from the 1990s. However, speaking of seats, we do have back seats, so let's go do a back seat review. So I love in the Ford Mustangs that the seat comes forward so well, but when they have a roof, it can be a little tricky. I'm in the back of the 68 Ford Mustang. It's not amazing. I'm a little squished back here, but this was kind of a fun time car. You didn't really care in that time. I don't even get seatbelts back here. Chuck a couple friends back here, go to the store, go to a football game, whatever it was. This was not their concern, so I can't judge a car based off of that, but overall, I do fit back here, and I feel like that's, you know, a reward in its own sense. Here's the trunk of the 1968 Ford Mustang. It's not anything too crazy. There's no crazy features or anything like that, but people always ask what the cargo space looks like in each vehicle, and I'm happy at least here today to oblige. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and this is finished in lime gold metallic. Now, they briefly brought this color back, actually, in the late 2000s, but this is one of the original colors. They were really going brash and wild with the colors of this era, and I really love seeing that. It's such a pretty car, especially with the ivory interior paired with it. It's just a win all around. However, with all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving a 1968 Ford Mustang V8? Well, this experience hasn't been completely different than the other first gens that I've driven. If anything, a lot of those features of the first gens are just reinforced here in 1968. But it's really cool to be driving something that is sort of showering in the success of the Ford Mustang, because the 65 and 66, like I said, they didn't really get to bask in the glory of how successful they were. There wasn't enough turnaround time, and so here in 1968, we get to reap what we sowed. And by we, I mean Ford, which I had no part of. I wasn't even alive when this car was built. But you could see them start to get a little crazy and a little more exciting. The Sprint Package B was fun. It was interesting. It made your Mustang unique. And that's what they really started to do. If you look at the late 60s, all the different trim levels they started coming out with, especially in 1969, they really revved it up. And that's because they had sold so many of them, they were actually struggling to make them unique and personal. People said, yeah, I love a Mustang, I want a Mustang, but I want it to be mine. And so Ford delivered, and that's why they gave it this really cool and interesting color. That's why they gave it the ivory interior. That's why they gave it the C-stripe down the side and the Sprint B package with the chrome air filter and all these different looks. That is all because Ford couldn't keep these on dealer lots. People were going crazy for them. So this is the product of the first year and second year success. This is the product of Mustang Mania, and that's what I'm driving here today. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Henry for letting me take out his 1968 Ford Mustang. What a beautiful cherry of an automobile. Henry has been absolutely awesome to work with, such a down-to-earth guy, and he's been in the Ford business and Ford game for longer than I've been alive. Over half a century he's been into Fords, which is so awesome to meet someone like that and talk to them and hear their stories of what these cars were like when they rolled off the showroom floor. So huge thank you to Henry. But don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.